That was Carlito from the new album by Cochemea Gastelum. The album is called The Electric Sound of Johnny Arrow. We've got Cochemea on the phone. Cochemea, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks, Doug.
Good, good. Hey, tell us about the new album, if you would.
Well, you know, it's been some years in the making. I started this years ago, just kind of like in between tours, and you know, I decided not to go like, well, you know, a lot of people are making their own records these days.
Right, right.
And that's kind of how I decided I wanted to do it. And I really did have no idea what I had to do. I just had a laptop, and you know, I just wanted to set down my ideas. That was really exciting to me. So I went ahead and just started, you know, recording stuff through trial and error, and eventually I kind of like got better and better at it. And I got a studio space out here in Brooklyn, and I just kind of took all my little tidbits about San Francisco. I took all the stuff that I kind of been working on over the years, and I put it together. I got myself an 8-track tape machine, and then I wrote the rest of the album, and I kind of put it together and made it happen. You know, I got my friends to play on the record, and I just started, you know, recording it myself. You know, in the studio I shared with a few other guys, so we kind of like put together our stuff.
Now, did you have an idea behind the album? Was there something that you wanted to convey? Was there an idea behind everything? I mean, it seems like it all almost be a concept type thing, you know, with the title and so on.
Well,
like
yeah, in a way it was, because kind of like what, you know, I had like all these different ideas and stuff, but I didn't really have a cohesive sort of narrative for the record, and the title, you know, The Electric Sound of Johnny Arrow, kind of refers to the dream I had. And at the time, I was like having a lot of dreams about my ancestors and a lot of indigenous people. You know, because my name Cochemea is Yakian.
Mm-hmm.
That's my heritage, and I was having all these dreams, and in one of the dreams, it was like I was kind of in between these two sort of warring clans of Indians, and I was caught in the middle, and there was like an older clan and a younger clan, and they had like crossbows, arrows, machetes, and they just drawn, ready to go at it. And I was trying to chill the situation out, and I remember in the dream, and the younger clan was led by this guy named John Arrow, and the name really struck me in the dream. And as the dream progressed, I eventually started kind of following the older clan, like, away, and I looked back at the younger guy, and John Arrow was kind of waiting. I had this really intense feeling like I was going the wrong way, and I should have them. And so, as I was following, you know, the older group of people, I just realized I couldn't do this longer, and I just turned around and looked towards John Arrow and his younger clan. And when I got to where they were on this bandstand playing like this most incredible music, and this lady walked past me, and right as she walked past me, she said, "We knew you'd be back." And then I woke up.
All right.
And it was like, when I woke up, I was just felt so exhilarated. John Arrow, and it just kind of, for me, just sort of like encapsulated a lot of different sort of concepts and ideas. My dad's name was Johnny, so I decided to name the character Johnny Arrow. And you know, me and my father, like, I didn't really know him growing up, and he was also a musician, and he didn't really get to ever make a record until his dreams. He was very talented to do it. So in a way, it was kind of like me, kind of like my kind of like catalyst to finish this record, to kind of realize this thing that I've always wanted to do, but really didn't have a full, you know, idea of how to do it. And just kind of like everything just kind of coalesced in that moment. So that's why I named the record The Electric Sound of Johnny Arrow, and all this sort of ideas.
That's an amazing story. What an amazing dream. I've never heard anything like that, an album concept could come from a very vivid dream like that. That's an amazing thing. Yeah.
I tend to have really vivid dreams. I always have stuff as a kid. So, yeah, you know, I write them down a lot.
All right, yeah. Yeah. Well, tell us about the track Carlito that we just played.
Well, Carlito, at the time, you know, a lot of the songs on the record, you know, it kind of jumps around. I mean, I think there's sort of like, obviously a common thread, but I listen to a lot of different kinds of music, and when I wrote Carlito, I was listening to a lot of, like, I've always been a fan of, like, boogaloo, kind of like old school 60s boogaloo, like Joe Cuba,
right.
Ray Barretto, and I was listening to a lot of that time, and I thought, man, I just have this, you know, I was playing the piano, and I just had this kind of, like, boogaloo riff that I came up with. It really reminded me of that kind of era. So I just kind of made a song, and it was real simple. It was kind of advanced at the time, but I was kind of excited about it, so I sent the track with my cousin, Angelo, who also goes by the name Carlito Headset.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, man, we should mess around with it. So he sent it back to me, and when he sent it back to me, he sent back this song with this thing going, Carlito, Carlito, Carlito.
Yeah.
And to me, it just sounded like, it reminded me of like War, like Still Blind or something like that.
Right, yeah.
And so I kind of like, I ended up, you know, he's like an electronic musician, kind of remix DJ, and so he sent it back with all this kind of wild, like, jam stuff. So I ended up, like, taking all that out, but I left his voice in there, and then I just kind of around that and rearranged it, sort of. So that's kind of how that came about. Kind of like an updated sort of Latin boogaloo kind of style, I guess you might say, but sort of like influenced by like War, like Ray Barretto.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, before that, we played a bunch of stuff that you picked out for me, and I want to go over each one of those if we can, and just talk about if these are things that influenced you, that our listeners can get an idea of where you come from and so on like that.
Absolutely.
So the last thing we played was Gary Bart's Celestial Blues before Carlito. That's from an album called Harlem Bush Music.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know mostly we know Gary Bart's mostly from playing with Miles Davis in the early 70s, I guess. He also played with McCoy Tyner and several other groups back then, and he still is playing. But tell me about the Celestial Blues and its influence on you, the Harlem Bush Music thing with Andy Bay and Gary Bartz.
Yeah. When I first heard that music, it was kind of like, you know, when you hear something for the first time, it's almost like the sound that you've been wanting to hear, but then all of a sudden, right there, you know, and that's how I felt when I heard Gary Bartz. Like the way he solos is so, to me, personal and original. I don't know anyone who sounds like him, and he's very lyrical. He sounds like he's just singing more, and I just relate to everything he plays. And when I heard that record, I kind of made it a point to just like learn everything, or learn a bunch of his solos, and it really influenced me a lot in the way I play in terms of like melodically, because and just like kind of like being able to tell a story with your solo and its sound, and I just feel it. You know, it feels like it's coming from the ground up. You know, it feels like it's like sung off.
I didn't know about that album, so we'll have to be playing that a lot on the air now. I didn't know about that, but I'm really enjoying what I found from you hipping me to it. So I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. I try to tell everyone about that record because it's kind of DJs know about it because a lot of people have sampled clips with it.
Right.
But a lot of other people, it's kind of like, I try to tell everyone about it, and when they hear it, they're like, oh my God. Because Gary Bartz, I don't think, the people, you know, jazz aficionados know about him. He's a little under the radar for some people, you know. And he's my favorite, one of maybe top 2 or 3 saxophone players.
Cool.